Morning everyone, it's Ian from DIY Home and Gardening. 4th of April today and the weather is amazing. Certainly a marked difference than it was 2 days ago, as basically the whole of March has been cold and really wet, to the point where, well, as you can see, the lawn has not been touched and now it's in a bit of a state. So this video is basically on a bit of a rejuvenation of the lawn video. So we'll turn the camera around and we'll have a look first as to what we're dealing with. So guys, pretty much standard condition after winter, albeit there's a bit of compost which normally wouldn't be there. You know, plenty of gaps around, stuff that's been left on the lawn, so not looking the best. Obviously the trampoline has been left here. This is absolutely full of weeds and moss. All this bit, you can see all the moss there, as it always sits wetter over this corner. Totally bare there. That's better than it was because we've moved the trampoline. So it's just very mossy, very patchy. A lot of sections of the grass seems to have died off. That bit I had to put well, a bit of soil over it just to try and repair some of the damage from the moles actually. But you can see how bad it's looking. So really I need to tackle this before it's usable for the summer. And again there, for some reason that had sort of sunk away over the winter period. So I did put a bit of grass seed on that start of March, and you can see it's only just started to sprout. It's been that cold and wet, but anyway, you can see typical sort of family lawn as such, and just want it to be a little bit better. So before I go into getting the lawnmower out, first thing that I'm going to do actually is to try and tackle some of the weeds and the moss, and hopefully this is what I'm going to be using. So it's got a split in it, which is why it's upside down, but it's called Aftercut all-in-one lawn feed, weed and moss killer. So it's manufactured by Westland, so I'm going to be using that and applying that evenly over the lawn. The guinea pigs are currently in their house, so I'll pretty much have to do everywhere except for where they are, and treat that at a later stage. So to start with, let's have a little bit of a tidy. So I've had a bit of a tidy up. My thinking is that I'll do one section, move the trampoline, do another section, and so on. So having a look on the instructions, can't use it when your lawn is less than 6 months old. Don't do it when it's dry, and make sure that the soil is moist. Grass wants to be dry also. So we know when to do it. Good practice to put some gloves on. It tells you how many square meters this bag would do and the application rate. So you can do it by hand, which is how I'm going to do it, and measuring out accordingly, and with the application rate per square meter. Alternatively, you can use a lawn spreader, and then after that gives you your instructions for finishing off, and if you don't get rain, then water the lawn within 48 hours. 7 to 14 days it will take for the moss and the weeds to die off. So then you can rake those out, cut the lawn, and if you need to retreat, then you can retreat the areas after a few weeks. Main thing really is, particularly if you've got pets, you want to make sure that for your first couple of cuts, well, and also for your compost heap, first couple of cuts with this, make sure you discard the clippings into your compost bin or down to the council. So let's get some gloves on and start applying this carefully over the lawn. Actually, before doing that, it's probably worth just showing you. So these are the weeds that it will kill off. If you've got more perennial weeds, then you will need to either dig them out or spray them separately. Yeah, let's get going. Right, so that's the all-in-one feed weed moss killer applied to this top section of lawn. Obviously trampoline's been moved and it's applied down to there and across and down to there, so I've left a big chunk available for the guinea pigs, and so all of this has been done as well. So yeah, essentially it's a case of leave it be, and then tomorrow night I'll give the whole lawn a good water, unless we have rain before. Right, so with the lawnmower all set up, you now want to check your cut height. So that's set on maximum, and really you want it so that you're going to be removing about 1/3 of the height of the grass. So with that set up high, you can then drop it accordingly, and that will give you roughly about 1/3 off. So let's get going. Excuse the noise, neighbours are obviously cutting their grass as well. So been over the whole lot, just taken off 1/3, and it's only taken off really half a bag, less than half a bag's worth of clippings, and that is essentially this week's work done. So we'll give it one more week, and then we'll tackle everything properly. Obviously disconnect your lawnmower first, just check for any build up, because this time of year where it's wet soil, wet grass, it has a tendency to build up around the blade, around the exit section, so you just want to make sure it's nice and clear. And then again, with it in mind that really, like this moss is the bits that are going to be dying off, and some of the more annual weeds, you can now turn your attention to things that are more perennial weeds that, whilst they might have been caught by the weed killer, they probably won't die off. So you can obviously get weed grubbers. I tend to use a flathead screwdriver, just go around and, well, he says, get the root out. There we are. Get the root out, firm it back down, and you can work your way around, just pulling out some of the worst offenders, which tend to be more thistles and things like the daisies and buttercups. So I'll just do a bit of a go around with that, and so we'll see you in hopefully about a week's time. So it's another 5 days on from last cut, and the last cut we were going this direction, and for this cut now we're going 90 degrees across. So yeah, by changing your cut direction, you're moving the blades of grass in a different direction, which means that you're not going to end up with the same undulations of the soil. Also it means that all the blades are going to get cut and it'll draw the blades up. So we'll just get this finished. So excuse the noise, the neighbours have obviously decided to cut their grass, but you can see that that's the lawn done, going crossways. And actually, if you look down closely, you can see that there's still the visible lines of where I cut going that way, which as I say was only 5 days ago. So when you can see that, it then becomes apparent that actually if you always continue to cut in one direction, you'll get those ripples that you quite often see in gardens. But if you always cut at 90 degrees to your previous cut, then you will help avoid that, and you'll help reduce the compaction of the turf. So we've done 2 cuts 5 days apart, and going to give it another couple of days, which take me to a Tuesday, which would then be the exact fortnight from when the feed and weed was first applied. And so at that fortnightly interval or interlude, whatever you want to call it, is when I will then do the raking to remove any of the dead moss and weeds. So for the time being, that's well, this little update. Right, so we're another 2 days on from the last cut, and you can see, well, the sun is actually shining. It's amazing. Guinea pig's been out on the lawn having a little munch, as basically the chemical element is gone. Youngest decided to get the swing ball out, which was, well, always a bonus, but it just shows the fact that we need to get the lawn ready. So essentially now is time for scarifying, or hard raking, just trying to get out all this moss that is, well, moss and weeds that have gone and blackened off. So let's have a look. Okay, so you've got 2 options for your scarifying. You either use the lawn rake, which is one of these, and you're working one way, then the other. If you can do, try and go one way first and then go backwards. Or, if you're lucky enough, you got one of these, which is a scarifier, works exactly the same way. So it has these little tines on the base of it, which exactly like that, but moves around in the cylinder motion, much like your lawnmower, so much quicker, just a labour saving version of that. So what I'm going to do now, I'll go up and down, and then I'll go side to side, collect it all up, which will be all the moss and all the dead weeds, discard that, and that rubbish will be going into the council bin, because the moss and the weed will be the bit that contains the weed killer. So should get on with it. So I just thought I'd show you. So that is all the stuff that have been essentially raked up just from this small section, but you can see it's pulling it up quite nicely. Just need to make sure that you get your setting right, because you don't want to be pulling out all the grass from the root. You're just setting it so that it's going over and pulling out the worst. Right, that's the final lot, and that's from going up and down. Now to go side to side. Right, okay, so we've done the opposite direction, got absolutely loads out. It's probably worth pointing out that when you do your opposite direction, or your second direction, you will get out considerably more moss and thatch, which is the dead grass and weed, than on your first run, and that is because essentially it's hoovering up anything that got missed on the first time around. So that's all the scarifying done. Final bit is run over it again with the lawnmower. because what you would find now is that now you've been across the grass both directions, you'll find that it's lifted all these blades up so nice and straight, so you can see the differences in the height where some stuff has been laying flat, and so that also shows you the patches of different colour. So we'll just run over it with the lawnmower, and where you can see how the predominant cut is, we'll go the opposite direction. So I just thought I'd show you intermediate stage really. So what I've done, I've gone round, tidied up all the edges, got rid of the bits of grass, and now for doing my final cut, I don't know if you can see it, but I've set it down to a level lower than the one I did 2 days ago, and in that way not only are you going to be cutting the grass to a decent length or decent height, but it's also going to act again as a bit of a vacuum to pick up any of the debris that's remaining. So yeah, let's carry that on now. Right, well, that's all the grass cutting complete. So you can see it's a lot flatter, looks more even. You can still see some of the variations in the colour, a few undulations, but looking much better, and more importantly, underfoot it's not spongy anymore, which is a really good thing. If your lawn is spongy, that's always a telltale sign that it's too much dead matter or thatch that was built up to the base, and you're very soon going to be having issues with moss. So yeah, cut all the lawn. Now just going to go around with the edger, which basically, as the name suggests, gives you a nice tidy edge. So pop your foot on there, cuts off the wayward grass, and just whip it out. And if it's even with a bit of root on, you can discard it onto the beds, because this time of year it will soon die off with a little bit of heat. So just nip round and do a tidy. Just thought I'd share a little hint actually. I mean, all I tend to do, I'll do my edge, which most of the time you can just push down with your hand just to do your reshape, and give it a light flick up. That gives you a nice separation. So you shouldn't then get the same issues with your lawn encroaching on the flower beds and the plants going onto the lawn or spreading onto the lawn. So let's get this done. Right, so that's the border, nicely shaped. I haven't done that one yet, but as you can see, light levels are going a little bit. I haven't had dinner, so I will do the other one tomorrow, but just to show you next stage, basically going to be overseeding. Let's split the bag. So the seed I'm using is this one. We sell it at work. It's a really good seed, as it says, multi-purpose. So it's got some ryegrass in it, which is the vigorous one. It's got a bit of creeping bents in it, creeping red, a bit of bent in there. So they're all different seed types within it. You can see there temperatures that it all start germinating at, so above 10 degrees, which is fine. And there's some sort of, well, bits and pieces on it, but yeah, it's, there we are. And the good thing as well with it, yeah, so decent decent vigour in it, deters birds. So the actual seed has a coating to it, so it means that the birds won't actually eat it, which means you can sow it or seed it literally straight over your lawn without having to worry about covering the area with soil, or having to cover over your lawn with unsightly netting, which you know, in the vain attempt to stop the birds eating the seed, but invariably ending up catching the birds in the netting. So as I say, I'm going to be overseeding, which literally means sprinkling some seed over the entirety of the lawn. And because we are back end of April, it will germinate quite readily within about 10 days to 2 weeks, and fill in all the patches from where we've pulled out the weeds and moss. You can see the coating on that. It's that bluish tint, so a good old handful, and literally just scattering it over the surface. And if we now get to a period of dryness, just make sure you do some watering on a every other day basis. Right, that's that whole bag done. 120 square metres. It's probably worth mentioning that this is kind of well, I guess the routine I do each year, and also the fact that this whole lawn I sowed from seed as well. So when we came here, the ground was very undulating. It was actually 6 inches lower than it is now, about a foot lower there than it is now, and the lawn always used to flood. And so we brought in 22 tons of soil, and for the first year of doing this, I was pulling out weeds every couple of days whilst the grass was getting going, and it took 2 years really for the lawn to kind of resemble as it is. So yeah, it has taken some effort. The only thing that you could do differently, or not differently, but in addition to, would be to aerate, which you could do now or in the autumn time. But for now, that's the lawn. Well, that's it. That's the video done. That's 3 weeks of processes from start to finish on how I renovate or restore the lawn each year, so basically it can get to a decent standard, ready for the children and animals to ruin it all over again. But there it is. Yeah, it is what it is. As I say, from now on it's a case of making sure that as the seed starts germinating, give it a water, and if if you're so inclined, you can then give it a liquid feed towards the end of May. I don't tend to use a feed, but I do tend to use a liquid application of seaweed extract, which is a plant tonic, so it just gives it more vigour, improves the health of the grass rather than promoting a lot of soft growth. So anyway, video done. If you've got any questions, which I'm sure you will do, then please send them over to me. I'll do my very best to answer them for you. If you like what I'm doing, then please subscribe to the channel. It's always good to have new people coming on board. Don't forget to hit that reminder button so you don't miss out on the future videos that I am doing. And above all else, I always say it, but have fun in your garden, enjoy what you're doing, and yeah, till next time, bye for now.